My name is Astrid Tuminez. I'm in Utah today to be president of Utah Valley University. For me, it is really meaningful to be the president of the largest university in the state of Utah, and it's open admission. So the reason that partly why I'm here is because of my Philippine background, where education made such a huge difference in my life. And so in a way, the mandate that I have here, I feel resonates with the Philippine Humanitarian association that is helping students in the Philippines. I was born in Tigbawan. It's a tiny little place. It's not even a town, and I was born in a little village there. When I was 2 years old, my family moved to the city so that we could have better opportunities for education, and the only place that we could find to live in was the slums because it was free. So we got to build our own little hut on stilts in the water in Iloilo City. And I came to the United States when I was 18 years old to go to school. And that was in part made possible by the fact that, when I was 5 years old, I started getting an education. And it was really through the help of the nuns of the Daughters of Charity who found my family in the slums and then offered places for us in their rather expensive convent school. So I learned to read, and I really wanted to see the world. And in 1974, I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and then I heard about this place called Utah, and I thought, wow, that sounds like Disneyland. I should go there. And so I was able, after many obstacles and difficulties, I was in the end able to get a visa to study at Brigham Young University. And so I was 18 then and moved from BYU to Harvard and MIT for graduate school. And I've since returned to Asia for my career. The last 13 years I've been in Asia, and then I returned to Utah in 2018. Before Asia, I was in New York and Cambridge, Massachusetts. So that's sort of a very quick summary of where I've been. And I have quite a few role models. So in early childhood, I really worshiped the nuns. And to me, they were these otherworldly figures. They were praying all the time, and they looked beautiful in their long white habits and wimples, and I felt like they were really doing the work of God, and also they were really strong. They were authorities, they were the mother superior, they were the principal. My older sister, who raised me when she was only 15 years old, very nurturing, very responsible. So those are my early role models. And then later in life, of course, I've had people who've mentored me, both at university and graduate school. My professors, some of whom to this day continue to be a big influence on my life. And my own mother, I think about her. I didn't really understand her as a role model when I was younger because she left when I was only 5 years old. But later in life, when I became a mother myself, and then I began to understand what it took for a woman in the village to have 8 children in the village and in the slums. And my respect for my mother just, spiked so much, because what she had to do was very difficult, physically, emotionally. And in the Philippines, we have a lot of these situations where, people soldier on. So my mom also became a role model, even though I didn't know her for a good chunk of early years of my life. But later on, I came to understand her own strength and her own ambition. Even moving from the village to the city was a big sign that she was a woman with ambitions. She wanted her children to have something more. I know that, the Philippines remains a poor country. Our GDP per capita is only $3,000, and so many people live on under $2 a day. My own father earned the equivalent of less than $50 a month, and he had 7 children to feed. So my first message to my fellow Filipinos, especially the students being supported in the Philippines, is, you have to persevere. You have to believe. And what do I mean by that? You have to believe not only in your own capabilities, but you have to believe that things will get better. And no matter how sad your story is, there's always someone whose story is sadder than yours. People who are living under war conditions. So you always have to say, what's going well right now? What can I do to help myself? What are the things that make my life meaningful? And my life is a gift. And therefore, as I look forward, if I'm receiving a scholarship or I can go to school or I'm fairly healthy, what can I do with my own capabilities, my own hard work to help me get better every day, every week, every month. And then ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. And then I think, at the end of the day, when you're down, when you're discouraged, please remember that you have a choice. You have a choice to ask yourself, how will I interpret this moment of discouragement? Is this the meaning of my life, or is this only a blip in my life? And then when you say it's just a blip, I encourage you to think that it's only a blip in your life. And then, you wake up tomorrow, you'll feel better. Never give up. It's really so important that you don't give up. The U.S. remains one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And of course, there are many, many good causes to support. So for your donors and your potential donors, I think one of the things that is worth reflecting on is whether or not they have an affinity with the Philippines for any reason. Number two, do they believe in education and sharing their blessings, because every little bit helps. When I was a child, I was actually for a period of time supported by an 18-year-old woman from Iowa. Her name was Margaret Brighton, and she was 18 and she sent $18 a month to help me through the Christian Children's Fund. And that didn't meet all my needs, but the fact that I could have a new dress for Christmas when I was 11 years old, or get a new pair of shoes, it just created a lot of joy. So sometimes in America, in Utah, we can get jaded. We can just go to the store and buy everything we need. We don't worry so much about where our food's gonna come from, or our electricity is gonna come from. But having a spare moment just to think about, $20 may not be so meaningful to us, but it could be really meaningful to somebody else, including especially these people in the Philippines who are trying to go to school, who are trying to improve themselves. And in my view, as a university president of Utah Valley University, there are few causes more worthy than education, because education's promise is to free the mind. And when you free the mind, you free up possibilities, you free up imagination, you free up people to help themselves. Because the little help that we give here and there can never sustain people for the long term. But education has that promise of freeing the mind, freeing the spirit, freeing the imagination, giving skills, and people then can later on navigate their way around the world. So I would like to say to your donors and potential donors, please reach deep into your pocket. You may be helping somebody like me. And I don't think the young woman from Iowa who helped me ever thought, that this little girl she was helping would go to Harvard and MIT and become a university president. So we never know sometimes the pathways where an extension of a helping hand can really have ramifications much bigger than we would ever imagine.